A few months ago, I completed Halo 4 and Legendary without shooting a single bullet, and my friend Mcthumbs was up to the challenge for his own speed game in Halo Reach. So right now we ask ourselves the question, is it possible to beat Halo Reach without taking a single shot on Legendary difficulty? Mcthumbs being a longtime friend of me and can never let me have anything in life, he wanted to see if he can one-up me by doing it in his own speed game. Halo 4 and Reach being pretty similar, let's see if Thumbs is up to the challenge. We'll start off on a lengthy Falcon ride in the first mission, Winter Contingency. Once Mcthumbs gets out, he immediately does a series of tricky jumps to get out of bounds. This allows him to skip the first group of enemies in the first area. Speedrunners like Mcthumbs usually try to grab a plasma pistol to EMP the Falcon down to get inside it. But because an EMP counts as a shot, he won't be able to use that strat. Sometimes if you get really lucky, the enemies will EMP the Falcon itself, but that's not really dependable in a full run. He sprints through on the right side, causing the elites in the area to walk right past him. Once he gets out of the car, he drives through until he reaches a group of Marines stranded, and these Marines warn Noble Team about the Covenant like we didn't already know that. He splatters a handful of the first group of grunts and then gets out and punches the other ones to death. Then he camps behind a tree, chucking nades at the grunts that come out in front of him. The grunts are easy in this area, but there are two elites that jump out and can prove to be quite challenging. However, if they choose to shoot at Carter and these Marines, you are able to easily backsmack the elite while they're distracted. After the area is cleared, Mcthumbs goes back into the Falcon and rides until he's dropped into the courtyard. He chucks some nades at the enemies and heads inside to start the wave fight in this area. All that needs to happen in the wave fight in order to progress is to backsmack a couple elites and grenade a few other enemies carefully. Once the waves are cleared, Mcthumbs runs back inside and begins the next section. In here, Mcthumbs runs up to the left to get a concussion rifle, Zealot to retreat. From here, with a combination of grenade and using George as a meat shield, you can get to the final area of the level. One grenade throw later and all the grunts are dead in this area, leaving just the concussion rifle Zealot from before and the sword Zealot. The concussion rifle is easy to kill for bait from a backsmack. The sword Zealot is too busy wanting to cut George up into pieces to be aware that Noble 6 is there to backsmack him. Now it's time for the next mission, Oni Sword Base. At the start of Oni Sword Base, the courtyard area is already one of the most trickiest sections of the entire Zero Shot challenge, making this one of the hardest parts of the run because there's about 4 elites, some jackals, and some grunts, and you can't shoot and you have to rely on your AI to kill everything. The only thing that you can possibly do is sneak up on enemies or backsmack them, and you only have 4 nades and a dream. The first thing Mcthumbs does is grenade 2 jackals on the left hand side and sprint behind this truck in order to get some of the skirmishers in the area. Then he throws some nades to clear out some of the other enemies. It's sometimes a gamble whether Cat can be helpful or not, because sometimes she acts as useless as a single grunt by hiding behind cover and just doing nothing for several minutes. But in this run, Mcthumbs actually got blessed with some good RNG. She was like Superwoman. She melees 2 of the elites to death, making the rest of the clear much easier for Mcthumbs. She also takes care of a few other enemies and does some good damage to the remaining elites. Once Mcthumbs clears the last enemy in the area, he sprints over to the ghost and grabs it. He then uses this ghost to traverse the map and travel to the other sections that he needs to. The first thing he does is he activates the AA gun and a comms array with some precise driving and maneuvering so he doesn't get killed in the legendary run. After pretty much completing a full circle around the map, you arrive back at the sword base. And now Mcthumbs will be able to attempt a skip known as Hunter Skip. Basically, if you ram your ghost off this railing, you can flip it over these barricades. And going fast enough with this ghost will actually skip the hunters, meaning you don't have to kill them when you go in the elevator. Thumbs does this pretty fast as a god gamer he is. He's now up to a meal, and he's told to clear out the banshees and phantoms in this area. Slight problem, you can't help out because, you can't shoot. So what do you have to do? You wait, and I mean wait for several minutes, several hours. Alright, it doesn't take hours, but you wait, and about 10-12 minutes later, Emil kills every single banshee and the phantom, meaning Nightfall is up next. If you remember my Halo 4 Legendary Zero Shot run, the mission Shutdown, you would notice that this mission is pretty similar to Shutdown, as in it is a really, really simple mission, and it's not even worth discussing at some points. Similar to Shutdown, you just do one trick and you're pretty much done with the mission. With Nightfall, you run past everything, do one trick, and you're done with the mission. There's only one RNG part that you can really die from, but that's pretty much up to trial and error until you get it, and that's where the turret grunt is, and that section. After you get past that part, you're just running past the 2 Goudas, you get to this part where there's optional Marines that can help you, but you just bypass them anyway, skip them, and you get to the forklift. Once you get into the forklift, you just line up the door and you clip through. And after that, you just run to the inn. And yeah, probably the freest mission in the campaign, so Mcthumbs can't complain about it. At the start of Tip of the Spear, the player is required to kill 2 Field Rod grunts. Mcthumbs has to take them out with some well-placed frag grenades, and hitting these frag grenades is no easy challenge. The game rewards him with a rocket hog and progresses through the first AA gun. With some careful driving, Mcthumbs is able to get to the upper ledge of the AA gun and destroy the core. Driving out of there as fast as he can, he drives up to the BXR facility where he simply does not care about the shade turret and sprints onto the next AA gun while just just skipping through everywhere in this area. Here he goes into the gun and destroys the core with a grenade, avoiding the buggers that come out. Then he gets into his Revenant, concedes one of the Marines to get in, and runs the remaining enemies over. He gets into the Falcon where he starts shooting. Well, unfortunately, one of the parts of Reach where you have to shoot is auto-scroller sections when you're in the Falcon. It is physically impossible to survive these auto-scroller sections without shooting. It's possible and easy, but not on Legendary. So unfortunately, we can wrap up the challenge here. It's not possible to beat Halo Reach on Legendary without shooting, but what kind of video is that? We're going to keep going and see how many places else we can get through. So after the auto-scroller section, the Falcon crashes down and he's on to the next section. He gets past the enemies by doing this really incredibly hard strat by holding to the right side of the wall. He then gets into the truck and then enters the spire. Up here, he carefully and methodically kills everyone with absolutely mind-boggling strat known as punching everyone to death. Once everyone is dead, he officially beat Tip the Spear, and it's now time for everyone's favorite mission, Long Night of Solace. Alright, it's time for Long Night of Solace. Mcthumbs begins by leaving the battlefield. Yes, we're gonna leave the battlefield momentarily and go up the left side where none of the enemies are. He can use this left side to get to the locked door. Here, he'll swap between Armor Lock and Drop Shield. Armor Lock being you can't take any damage when it's using, and the Drop Shield actually regains your health if you take any health damage. And you can also be safe from enemy fire. So you do this until Noble Team pushes up and kills everyone. So again, you're on another waiting timer here and there. Once the door finally unlocks, Mcthumbs mugs one of the Marines for rockets and grabs a sword on his way to the saber. Now it's time for the fun part of the mission, Space Fight. And if you know anything about the legendary difficulty of this game, Space Fight is one of the hardest sections in the game. So without shooting, doing this section is incredibly skillful, and anyone who does it is just an actual true Halo Reach veteran. For the first section, we're going to get is Banshees, and the only way to kill these enemies is either run into them full force by splattering them or bait them into flying into a wall. He clears the first Banshee wave by doing a combination of these two strategies. So after a little bit of killing there and then, it's now time for the hardest wave in Space Fight, the challenge 4 Cerebs. These 4 Cerebs proved to be in challenge, and many reverts later, Mcthumbs finally gets very lucky where they decide to kamikaze into the savannah. So now all 4 Cerebs dead. Possibly the hardest wave of Space Fight is now over. Now on the third wave, Anchor 9 finally decides to wake up from a long nap to start helping kill things. A good majority of them died from following their brother's footsteps and ramming into savannah. After waiting long enough and killing things ever so often while being very safe, you'll get this prompt that Phantoms have entered the area. On easy difficulty, the strategies that slowly push them to Anchor 9 and let them kill the Phantoms. However, if you try that on Legendary, you will die every single time. So Mcthumbs does the next best thing, and he hides and waits for a soft lock timer, and this soft lock timer is about 10 minutes. After about 10 minutes, the Phantoms, well, they die. Next here we have to stop at opposing Corvette, and now Mcthumbs unfortunately has to do the next heinous thing of shooting, because this is one of the other sections where you have to shoot the engines, and unfortunately there is no way to not shoot them. So he shoots the engine to slow down Corvette and then hides behind Savannah and lets Savannah do all the work. If you're hiding behind the Savannah, all the Banshees and Sabres just crash into the Savannah trying to get to you. So you really just camp here and wait it out, and you can go enter the Corvette. So that's it. Mcthumbs did it. He did Space Fight without shooting. Anyone is lucky enough to do it with shooting. He's an actual prophet. Once he gets into the savannah, he slices up the 6 elites that are down there and then gets into a very tricky situation in the next room. In this room, there's low gravity, so if you jump, you will die pretty much every single time. The grunts here are foolishly brave enough to challenge you, leaving them an easy target for melees. However, the elites can be more cowardly, but there are some windows of opportunity you can take advantage of in order to take them out. Mcthumbs presses a button to make a pelican appear and takes out some enemies while moving forward. Before entering the glow room, he sets up a drop shield at a certain location and a crate in another location in order to make the section easier on the way back. Then he takes care of Glowworm as carefully as he can, then runs back to the Pelican. He skips past the enemies on the way back, and now it's time to take care of the firefight at the end of the mission. There is not much of a unique strategy here, but it's definitely difficult without being able to shoot. So the whole strategy here is just letting George kill everything, and you can backsmack when enemies get stuck on George. It's just a bunch of waiting and a bunch of killing. There's some killing later. George throws you off with anger because you're not shooting. He had to do all the work, and now it's time for the next mission, Exodus. Next up is Exodus, and Exodus itself is not too tricky. At the start, you'll get some suicidal grunts that you have to run through, and with the help of Armor Lock, this part isn't hard at all. You'll just get to see a grunt and then Armor Lock to absorb all the damage. And then it's the brutes at the beginning, can be easily taken down with some grenades and careful punching. Then the most difficult part of the mission starts, Drax's Tower. The reason this is so hard because you're facing a large group of enemies without the ability to shoot, but with plenty ability to pray. They don't slaughter you mercilessly. Once again, again, there's no real strategy to this section. It's just waiting for windows of opportunity to pop up for you to take advantage. McThumbs takes a few minutes to download illegal hack clients, gives up after leaking his IP address, and eventually clears out the remaining enemies. Then he positions himself over the door to get some cheap backsmacks on the brutes. After grenading the other brutes and grabbing a hammer, he takes care of the other hammer brute who felt brave. With the helpful addition of the hammer, McThumbs is able to kill the rest of the enemies and goes in the elevator because you can actually shoot with the hammer. Well, you can't shoot, you melee with the hammer with the shoot button. You get it, what I mean, yeah? Yeah. After McThumbs kills the rest of the enemies, he goes up the elevator to grab the jetpack. He avoids some enemies by holding to the right side to start the next fight. Climbs his way up the building until he gets to the helipad fight. He enters the helipad at a certain way that allows him to get an easy kill on the brute chieftain, then goes to the front entrance from where he waits until a group of extremely jacked up marines enter this area. Because of the route McThumbs took, these marines are invincible, and they, in their glory, will take out the remaining enemies at the helipad. After McThumbs clears this area, he then gets into the Falcon, which this counts as another auto-cooler section, which means McThumbs unfortunately does have to shoot here, so that makes it 3 areas in the game that is not possible in Legendary without shooting. But at the end of the day, let's see what else he can do. When the Falcon lands, he has to run to the Warhawk and click 3 buttons to end the mission, but there is a certain route we take on Legendary where you don't even need to shoot a button. You click one button here, the other button here, and then click the 3rd button to end the mission, and with that, it is Exodus done, and on to the next level, New Alexandria. So up next, we have New Alexandria, and this mission really isn't much of a mission to anyone. It's an RNG heavy mission, meaning you can get any objective at any time. Throughout the mission, you start out with one of the 3 based objectives, which is Hospital, Sonomia, and Telecom Tower. Then after that, you have a 1 in 9 chance to get any one of the side missions, but even without shooting, this mission really isn't much of an issue. The only strategy to this mission would be when you get Hospital, and the way that's done is McThumbs grabs a Banshee out of midair and then flies the Banshee through Hospital to hit the jammer, and he automatically gets teleported back to the top. But other than that, it's just let the Marines kill everything. There's really not much. It's just waiting and letting the Marines kill everything. And at the end of the mission, you just let your Marines kill the turrets, and that's pretty much New Alexandria. The package, another hellish level that McThumbs has to get through if he wants to complete this challenge. The beginning is fairly methodical, with some timed killing and precisely thrown grenades to lead into the hardest section of the entire speedrun. A few turrets and 3 ghosts. The first tower is taken out by driving the tank over a shield and then climbing up and taking out the grunts. The first shade turret is taken out with a grenade along with the second tower. Then we need to deal with the ghost. The strat is to use the holograms to bait the shade turret into killing the ghost. However, if the ghost decides to stay back, it becomes impossible to progress. So another RNG factor into this run, and this section was hellish. This took McThumbs nearly 30 minutes to get past the session, but he eventually makes it through. Then he has to kill some AA guns, which is pretty easy. All he does is go inside, throw a nade in there, and run out. Then he needs to kill some fuel rod shade turrets. With more well-placed grenades and some baiting, he's in the sword base. He makes his way past the enemies until he enters Jackal Hell. This dumb section is cleared out with nades and and I mean very little help from Noble Team. You know, the Noble Team that's still alive. A few climbing later, he makes it to the interior of the sword base. The elites here love to bother Noble Team, making it easy bait for a grenade and some backsmacks. He then goes into the tram and then starts the firefight, which remotely is the hardest part of the level for some people with shooting. But on Zero Shot, it's actually the easiest part of the entire mission, thanks to the ability to hide and open up turrets. If you remember my Halo 4 run, where I kept spawning the auto sentry turret, basically the same thing, but these times there's just 4 turrets around the map that will just kill everything. So what you do is you just hide. Whenever a turret goes down, you pop that turret, and Noble Team will pick up everything else. So after that, you're just waiting. So around a half an hour later, package is finally done, and we're ready to go into the final mission, Pillar of Autumn. Here we are, the final mission. Can McThumbs do it? Let's see. At the beginning of the Pillar of Autumn, all you need to do is hit this fairly consistent slide jump and run to the mongoose and drive away. You're going to be driving through some scarabs and hit a jump over a bridge. The strat for this section is just a jump on the left side on top of these buildings to literally just ignore everyone. These next enemies will be suicidal, so they just kind of blow up and you'll hit a cutscene. Next thing you're going to see Thumbs do is hit a grenade jump to avoid some bugger spawns. You do this normally in the speedrun with a concussion rifle, but as you can't shoot a grenade, will have to do. Then he makes his way through the catwalk while dodging the enemy spawns. More progression and some more enemy skips later. McThumbs enters Boiler Room. This room is fairly tricky, with some jackals being the main culprit of this difficulty. Slowly and steady wins this race though, and then some more enemies come out, and then one dude has a dual wield plasma rifle, and then McThumbs donates a rocket to a marine for them to kill the random enemies with the rockets. Then it's finally off to Invite. The Invite gets easier so long as the Marines live because they have infinite power weapon ammo. The first wave consists of some grunts and jackals, easy enough to kill with few nades and melees. The Phantom drops off some brutes and grunts to be dealt with, but the Marines can make quick work of them. The next wave drops brutes, jackals, and 2 chieftains. The brutes and jackals are easy enough to deal with, but dealing with them and the chieftains can be very, very difficult. It's best to isolate the chieftains away from each other and lure the hammer chieftain towards you and then slicing him and grabbing his hammer. A window of opportunity opens up, allowing for Mcthumbs to take off the fuel red chieftain. Once the chieftain wave comes in, Mcthumbs positions himself so he can easily take out the next chieftain. The remaining enemies also get hammered to death, allowing keys to safely fly in and you can deliver the package. Emil gets one big ol' hug from a field marshal. Then there's a walk up to the Mac cannon, the final section of the game. One final push Thumbs needs. The grunts that accompany the first zealot are easy though, but the zealot himself can pose some problems. However, 2 slices of a sword solve the problem. From here, you can take a certain pack up to the Mac cannon that is safe from the enemies. You can get a spot and wait for the Corvette to get into position. One waiting game after Mcthumbs boards the Mac cannon and kills the Corvette before the Phantom takes him out. This is how Mcthumbs was able to complete Halo Reach on legendary difficulty without firing a single shot. Technically, in areas that you don't need to shoot. There's like 3 or 4 areas that you need to shoot. After that, Mcthumbs did it in a little under 4 hours. Again, he can't let me have anything. He's always got to one-up me, but very impressive run from Mcthumbs. Big shout out to Mcthumbs for helping him making this video. His stuff will be in the description below. If you want to see more challenges like this, make sure you like and subscribe for more videos just like this. We're going to be trying to do this on every game between me, my editor, and some other friends. We got multiplayer challenges coming in the future, and we got other games content that we're going to like to see. If you want to join our Discord, link is going to be in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one.